Okay, today we have MP Cooper as Bill Blair, the former public safety minister, at the PROC Committee as a witness, and he grills him for basically about the email that he didn't see and tries to find out why he didn't see it. Check this out.
Madam Chair, through you, with great respect, Minister, I take it from your answer that ministerial responsibility means to you, but you just don't take responsibility.
Well, and I would submit that that's completely incorrect.
Otherwise indexed as the Queen and Chesson?
No, I'm not.
Okay. The Van Wienen decision stipulates that CSIS must identify the individuals they believe will be intercepted talking in the surveillance process while applying for the warrant. Does that ring a bell?
I know what you're talking about
Okay,
now.
Thank
Yes.
you. Are you aware that CSIS has to provide a list of third parties who may be intercepted talking to a target of surveillance during the application process for a warrant?
Yes.
In the warrant application for Mr. Chan that you approved, did CSIS identify any individuals that may be intercepted in the course of surveillance who are members of cabinet, any sitting members of parliament, or senior officials in government?
Mr. Cooper, I took an oath not to discuss or disclose any information relating to any of those matters, and I intend to uphold my oath.
I'm going to put this to you in general terms.
About your question, Mr. Cooper, and I'm not going to answer it.
I will ask
All right,
you
so
a
I'm just going to
question.
pause the clock real quick. And I feel like sometimes that alone helps. As we know, one person speaks at a time. Minister Blair, I know you don't frequent this committee, but we do appreciate you taking the time to come, and you responded really quickly, and that's something I said to Ms. Thomas as well. Because of a little bit of the culture of this place, members who sit on the committee do tend to, I guess, have the time. Wherever I see that you're not getting time, I will make sure some is provided to you to answer. But sometimes, just with the importance of this topic, we know where it's headed. So I'm just going to let us get through this together, okay? All of us. Great. Mr. Cooper, the floor is back yours.
I will pose the question more generally. In any warrant application that you approved, CSIS warrant application, did CSIS identify any individuals that may be intercepted in the course of surveillance who are members of cabinet, any sitting members of parliament, or senior officials in government?
I'm sorry, Mr. Cooper, that information is something that I am not prepared to discuss in a non-secure setting, simply because I've taken an oath not to, and I intend to uphold that oath.
Are you aware of Mr. Chan in any way communicating with members of cabinet, any sitting members of parliament, senior officials in government?
Is there any context to your question? Saying that Mr. Chan's been around a long time.
Yeah.
I will tell you that when I was the police chief, I encountered Mr. Chan on a number of occasions. Is that the nature of your question?
Okay, how long have you known Mr. Chan? Has he been involved in any of your political campaigns?
I don't believe so directly, but I'm aware of the man. Like I said, I've known him since I was the police chief in Toronto.
Do you consider him to be a friend?
No, sir.
How long has your chief of staff known Mr. Chan and worked with him?
I haven't any idea, sir.
You have no idea?
No.
Okay. Minister, through you, Madam Chair, did you receive the PCO Daily Foreign Intelligence Brief dated February 21st, 2020, that stated that there was an active foreign interference network by Beijing in the 2019 election?
Actually, I'll have to check. I don't recall that particular
Well, maybe
date.
to help refresh your memory, on December 21st, 2022, you were quoted in a global news article acknowledging that you had received certain information from that memo. So I presume you have seen that memo.
Well, again, it's a classified document, and I can't discuss classified documents in this setting.
You may not. I certainly appreciate you're not able to talk about classified documents, but what has been produced to this committee in that memo, so it's not classified, spoke of an active foreign interference network by Beijing in the 2019 election. That isn't classified. Did you see that?
I'm sorry, Mr. Cooper. I've seen quite a number of documents. I can tell you during that period of time, we were taking action to respond to foreign interference by the People's Republic of China against our government. So, but I can't speak to this particular document.
Madam Chair, through you, this is not intended to be a prop. Just to try to refresh the minister's memory, this is a document, a memo, that has been one of the very few documents that has been produced to this committee, so it has been asked multiple times. I'm surprised you're unfamiliar with it, given that fact, given that you're appearing here on foreign interference, given that you were the Minister of Public Safety, and given that you stated on December 21st that you had you acknowledged having received certain information. So I'll put it to you again. Did you receive that memo? Were you aware of that interference network by Beijing? And what did you do with that information?
Yeah, I would like an opportunity to confirm. I want to give a forthright answer to this committee. If in fact that particular memo was shared with me, I can't see what you've held up from this distance, and it appears to be heavily redacted in any event. But I'll certainly I can determine whether or not that briefing in fact took place, when it took place, and I'll happily report back to this committee.
No, there's no really quickly, because the members who sit here, you guys know the beep goes off, and then you know how I am.
Deliver for was
the enthusiasm the Conservatives have for this one issue.
From this group,
They
and then
can
he turned
certainly
around
continue to talk about the
and
we
personally
charity and spin
intervened
conspiracy
to give a
theories. We're going to stay
$500 billion
focused on
to the group
delivering for
that is
Canadians.
And that you didn't see that note because you didn't have the login in information, and neither did your chief of staff. How is that possible?
First of all, what you have just described is not correct. You've got your facts wrong. But I'm pleased to have the opportunity to explain how that actually works, if you'd like me to.
Please explain.
Yes, of course. First of all, there is no email account in which top secret information is shared with ministers. There is a secure terminal that is located in certain offices, but not in any political office, and certainly not in the minister's office. I had no access to a terminal in which this information was shared. And the way in which information was brought to the attention of the minister was that it was determined by the director of CSIS what intelligence information the minister needed to know. They would then print out a copy of that and have me attend at a secure location, and the director of CSIS would brief me.
Minister, with the greatest respect, Mr. Johnson, in his report, stated that CSIS had sent this to you and your chief of staff, presumably because they wanted you and your chief of staff to see it, and you didn't see it because you didn't have access to it. That's what Mr. Johnson said. Is he wrong?
Well, allow me to clarify that information was not shared to me. It was authorized by CSIS to be shown to me, but they determined, and I would leave that to the question perhaps you might want to put to the director, but the director determined this was not information that the minister needed to know, and so I was never notified of the existence of that intelligence, nor was it ever shared with me.
Well, Mr. Johnson said you didn't have access. You didn't have access. Those were Mr. Johnson's words.
And in fact, that is factually correct. That the terminal there's no such terminal where such information would ever be made available in a political office. Certainly not in the minister's office. It was in a secure location. I did not have access to that terminal, and the only way in which information that was provided, the top secret intelligence that was provided on that terminal, would ever be brought to my attention was if a positive decision was made by CSIS to bring it to the attention, and then I would attend either a SCIF, a secure location, or to their offices where that information would be briefed to me.
Well, Mr. Johnson characterized this as the most prominent example in terms of a breakdown in information flow. And you were the Minister of Public Safety. It was under your purview. It was under your watch as minister. So what does ministerial responsibility mean to you?
My responsibility is to deal with information that our national security intelligence agencies bring to my attention. In this case, the National Security Intelligence Agency made a determination that this was not information that needed to be shared with the minister, and they did not share it with me. And so it is a concern, and I think that concern has been well addressed by a recent ministerial directive issued by my successor in that role, Mr. Mendocino, in which he has directed
Madam
ministerial
Chair,
directive.
through you, with the greatest respect, Minister, I take it from your answer that ministerial responsibility means to you that you just don't take responsibility.
Well, and I would submit that that's completely incorrect. I take a great deal of responsibility for every matter under my mandate and my responsibilities. But this is a situation where it's an operational decision of CSIS as to what information needs to be passed along to government. And in this case, they made an operational decision that was not required. And subsequently, 2 years later, when it was leaked to the press, then that information has subsequently been shared with me. But at the time, I had no knowledge that it existed. I had no knowledge that it was not being shared with me because I wasn't aware that that information was available. And CSIS, quite appropriately, made a determination that they didn't believe it was necessary to pass that information along.
Well, Minister, I would submit to you that the buck stops with you as Minister of Public Safety, and it is quite an indictment on this government that you as Minister of Public Safety, the Prime Minister, and the National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister, the current one, found out about this in the Globe and Mail. Quite an indictment.
That wasn't in the form of a question, Madam Chair. Did you want me to respond?
The way committee works is that I do try to provide some opportunity for people who we have invited to provide some responses, because sometimes what happens is that we are individuals in political fields and it's tough. And I need the information that you are providing.
Then if I may respond?
Quickly.
I disagree, Mr. Cooper.
Well, there you have it, folks. Basically, he's starting to find a few things about why he didn't see the email, which is very baffling to many Canadians. But big topic here is Aaron O'Toole. He's not letting up. He was apparently there was foreign interference against him in the last campaign. And basically the question is who wasn't messed with? But especially on the Conservative side. There's also the NDP Jenny Kwan who was targeted. It seems to me that the NDP and Conservatives were targeted, where so far we don't have any Liberals that were targeted. That CSIS hasn't declared that yet. What do you think? Leave your comments down below, like, subscribe, and have a good day. It's going to be 90 in Niagara. Enjoy.